Hi, everyone. Welcome to Generation podcast. This is our very first episode. My name is Ashley.
My name is Heather.
And this is a mother and daughter podcast. But to be honest, this came about from God. My mom had it in her head about doing a podcast. And I wasn't even thinking about that. But I don't know. In isolation and in the secret place, God reveals 5 and 11 different things. And he don't wait until you're out of the season for them to be done. You're in the season and you're putting that faith to work. So this is how this came about. And in it, we're just going to figure it out as we go, because it's not just one topic on healing. Yeah, not we figured out. Thank you for telling that. God is going to figure it out. It is already figured out. We just going with his flow and just doing what he wants us to do. And so, do you want to talk about it before we start on our first, kind of segment?
No, let's just get into it.
So
he gave us a topic for today, and let's just get into it.
So let's get into it. Before we talk about our topic for our very first episode, which is crazy, let's do a quote. This is not a traditional quote, but it's still a quote of importance. And it came from someone who is a very important person. And he told us one time during conversation, and he said, someone is always watching. And that was a quote from the very own Brother Dexter. And in that, what I didn't realize is how true it is. Some quotes, it has, you have the truth in it, and it's so simple, but it's not until you really live in oh no, someone is always watching. And so I say that to say somebody's always watching. You never know. You could be sitting right next to your coworker now who might be your boss. It could be a person who God has so many big plans for, but you're thinking this is just in right now. And it's not to say to treat them differently because of what they could be. What it means is to treat them kindly because of who you are. Because someone is always watching. Because if God is always here on this earth and he's always watching each and every one of us, even when we're doing our nasty little dirty things, and when we're doing our good things too, that means he also has eyes on earth, whether it's angels that's on earth and they're walking around, whether it's us, people who he works in and through as vessels for his business and things. He's always watching. So they're always watching, and they could be cheering you on good. They could be cheering you on bad, but whatever they're doing, you always got eyes on you. And the most important thing, you always got God's eyes on you. So it don't matter what they try. They can't do anything that he does not tell them or allow or doesn't have a plan for if he allows. So that's something to think about. So the topic of the day is
seasons. That's the one God gave us.
Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about what seasons are, how this came about?
How did it come about again? Why did God give us the seasons? Oh, because we have been going through so many different seasons. As you mentioned before, that we're currently in, I don't know if you call it the isolation season, but I know we have been.
No, he said manifestation now.
Yeah, we're in the manifestation season. But to make a long story short, God has had us in so many different seasons in this journey from the beginning till current, and currently we're in the manifestation season. And he told us that the first topic that we are going to do was going to be based on seasons. And somewhere in the Bible it talks about how there's a season for everything. There's a time for everything, a time to plant, a time to reap.
Ecclesiastics.
So
one, I think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to talk about today, seasons. Now, everybody knows seasons, you go through summer, you go through fall, you go through spring, you go through, what is that, the next one? Spring, summer, fall, winter.
Yeah.
So you go through all these different seasons, and it's the same way. There's a time for everything. So let's get into it.
Yeah. I think it also came about in a dream, too. I had a dream. I can't remember the dream. But I know for me, anytime I'm in an old season and going into a new one, that's when God gives me the language for a season. He never gives it to me before I go through it. He gives it to me after. I didn't know I was in a wilderness until I was in the wilderness and we were deep in there. Yeah. And I'm glad he didn't tell me, because I promise you, I would have ran away. I would have never went in it. And so I've been in seclusion for, believe it or not, over a year. It's a year and... Yeah, but your seclusion is different. You get to go outside. Yes. The last day I was able to go outside, I didn't even know this is how God is. And I'm telling you why I would have ran away from it. Because I was, listen, even to get here of where I'm at, it was a running away. People would tell me, you're this, you're that. And it was coming from people I did not want telling me nothing about my God, because they weren't serving him. And so, I didn't know nothing about my Bible. I didn't know nothing about God, but I know when he said his sheep know his voice, they were not following his voice. And it's just something that you feel in your spirit. So I say that to say, I found myself running away from God a lot, but I couldn't run away. I was just fooling myself. And, he led me into a wilderness season. And it was in the whole of 2023, he was putting it on my spirit to pray for newness in every aspect. And that's my prayer for 2023, just newness in every aspect, newness in every aspect, newness in every aspect. And when I tell you, God turns up the heat, he turns it up, because I thought I was running away, and I thought I loved God as much as I felt I did, because I had a deep love for him. But when it came to having to give up what I wanted to do, oh no, we're not doing that. And so, just being honest, I was not doing that. I had no respect for authority. I used to think it was cute to tell any guy I was dealing with or dating, or I wouldn't even say dating, situation, whatever you want to call it, it was not something solid. And anytime and they was trying to tell me something or trying to tell me to do something or anything like that, I remember I told one ex, I said, I don't even listen to my father. What makes you think I'm going to listen to you? And I thought it was cute. I thought I ate with that statement. I'm not going to lie. I thought I ate with that statement. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? And I didn't realize, actually, do you understand what you're saying? You don't listen to your father on earth. It's stopping me from listening to my heavenly Father. If I can't listen to my Father on earth, I don't listen to my heavenly Father. And it was going down deeper, because God was showing me how much issues I really had with the situation with my father, of my father not being in my life, how it affected me, and how even after the conversation, I had actually reached to a point, because of God, to be able to forgive and understand that the reason why I don't want to have a relationship with my father is not because I hate him or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. It's just because, and I told him, because God allowed me to write it down. And I said, it's because you want a space in a place that's been vacant for so long, and God has filled that space. And I don't know if I can trust you to be in it, because I don't know if I can trust you to be a good father. And it was understanding that the reason why it was no more bitterness, but before it was, and it was messing up my relationship of being able to be and have a relationship with my father. And I was only receiving not the fullness of God that he wanted to give me, but only a little bit of him. And I thought that was enough for me. And so he wanted to give me more. And in order to do that, he had to take me on a journey. And so in 2023, that was a wild ride. And it was, stuff was happening. And trust me, we're going to get into a lot of it as the episodes go on, because it's just too much stories. And it wasn't just in 2023. This can go far beyond. And so in 2023 was a wild journey. And I was drinking a lot. I was partying a lot. I was just doing what I wanted to do. I was having sex a lot. Not with, And I was just doing a lot. And I thought I was trying to find me. I thought it was me trying to find myself and be myself, and it really wasn't. And so after August of 2023, God said, all right, that's it. Because I felt like he was upset at me because it was a person he told me from since 2020 to no longer deal with. And in 2021, after my grandma died, of course that person was there, and it was a cushion that I needed. They were there during the day of her funeral, and I didn't want to. It was the viewing actually, and they were there, and they heard about my grandma passing, and yeah, they heard about my grandma passing. Sorry, a call had came through. But they heard about my grandma passing. By the way, we're doing this in like, it's no setup, no nothing. It's just our phones and going back to the basics before God even sets up everything. That's how faith works. But so the person was there. They were the cushion. Of course, shoulder to cry on, and it was somebody I was comfortable with. And all the things, and that ride alone, God had already told me and warned me and showed me what would happen. He told me, he said, don't go back to the person because they're going to go back to their girlfriend. He didn't tell me everything about it, but he told me everything I needed to know. And I still decided on what I wanted to do. And it goes to show of how I was not listening to authority. And in not listening to authority and not having respect for authority, God had to teach me discipline. So that's how we kind of went into the wilderness season. He told me to stop having sex in August of 2023. Things just got crazy. After that, I feel like it just amplified on a whole nother level. I couldn't drink no more, drink the pain away. Liquor stopped doing what liquor needed to do because my body couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take it in. I couldn't even smell it. None of that. And then in November, he told me to stop partying. That was my last party because he gave me a vision of how my future would be. And I didn't want that no more. And then he hit me with the question in December, it was getting close to like January when I had to make a final decision of going into the unknown with him or remaining how I was. And I was not happy with how I was, who I became. And I didn't want that life for me no more. I couldn't imagine myself going in that trajectory no more. So that's when in January of 2024, that's when I seriously got real with God, and I got serious with him and started taking him seriously because I couldn't he told me, he said, you can remain how you are or you can go into the unknown and the fear will dwindle as you go. And I couldn't remain how I was. So what I did was go into the unknown with him and the fear will dwindle as you go. I had to trust of what he was saying because I knew I couldn't stay in no more. And so we didn't get into the wilderness until July 5th, 2024. But boy, oh boy.
I felt like we were in that wilderness way before July.
Maybe we were.
I don't know, but go ahead.
Maybe we were.
I don't know.
But the isolation part, the last day.
I see why you say that.
I went outside. Yes. The last day I saw the outside, not from a window.
Physical.
Not from a window, not smelt the air from a window, was July 5th. 2025 when I got out the airplane. 2024, yes, thank you for correcting me because we in 26 now, still inside for now. And it was July 5th, 2024. We were in Florida, leaving from Florida. No one knew. We didn't even know. We didn't even know. My mom told me, she said, God said the answer in the message. I'm reading the message. Yeah. I'm listening to the message. Listen, I'm listening to the message. Tell them about the message.
Let me tell you, I had to listen to that. I was praying and I said, God, because it came closer for us to leave Florida. And God had promised us certain things in Florida. And so we were believing. I would say, God, we're going to believe you up till that last minute. So this was July 4th. And I'm telling you,
Thursday.
Yes, and it was pouring.
Oh,
it was pouring like crazy, and we still didn't know where we were going on July 5th because God didn't tell us. And so it was July 4th, and we were praying, and of course I was bawling at this time because it's like, God, I don't know what you want us to do. And so he said, the answer is in the message. And I'm like, the message? Now, this is the first time I'm listening, I think, to this man.
It's Pastor Don.
Yeah, Pastor Don from TDJ's church, right? Yes. And it was a Wednesday night service. So I said, God, if you want me to listen to this man, I've never heard him before. I don't know. And I said, if you want me to listen to him, you got to direct me to the message. And I don't remember the title of the message. What was the title?
I don't
remember the title. Another one, I'll tell you the title of the message when I get a chance to look it up. But anyway, God directed me to that message. And let me tell you, I listened to Pastor Don, that's his name, right? I listened to Pastor Don, and I'm like, God, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. And I think now, looking back, the reason why I wasn't getting it is because I was so caught up in tears and I wasn't hearing God properly because my mind was clouded, because it's like time is coming so close. And God told me, listen to the message again. And it's crazy. I don't like doing things double. But when he told me listen to it again, I said, okay. And I sat down and I listened to it. Then afterwards, I went and I said, Ashley, God said we're going back to New York. And you said...
No. You said God said the answers in the message.
Yes,
so
yes.
Prior to the message, God was telling me I'm going to have to throw out some things. I said, who going to have to throw out some things? Problem with authority, okay? He said, you going to have to throw out some things. I said, who going to have to throw out some things?
Because you know why he had told us that too? Because he had told you that we needed to go to... Where did we go? TJ Maxx? That we needed to go TJ Maxx, and we were buying towels and all of that stuff, remember?
Yes.
And he told us to buy which towels. And so we went to Florida, light. But now you're sending us back to New York and we got these towels. How are we going to manage with TSA? They going to want charges. So go ahead.
No, but yes. You see how I'm I'm still shocked at that one. And listen, because he had said that, and then he had told my mom that we need to give away some of the things that we bought. Because remember, he told us to go to TJ Maxx for a few things.
He told us plate. Did he tell us to buy the plate?
He did not tell us
but
plates.
we went and bought plates, and we bought some plastic plates.
We decided.
We bought umbrellas because it was raining.
To go and buy some more. He had also told me
the only thing he said to buy was the towels.
And then he had let us go back because we needed some clothes.
Yes,
remember?
Yes,
but then clothes. Afterwards, we just kept buying more clothes.
Yeah.
And so,
but it wasn't the clothes though. It was like a blender, because remember I wanted some juice.
No, but we were buying those things. Let's not get distracted why we were buying those things. We were buying those things because we were preparing for the things that was unseen.
Yes.
The reason why God couldn't work is not because our faith was lacking.
Yes.
If anything, I felt like we had too much faith.
Yes.
And so it wasn't like we were buying the clothes that we had. We were running out, so we needed to buy new clothes. He told us. So he would tell us to go.
Yeah.
Right. The only thing that we had did on our own, if I'm being quite frank, was he had told me that I need to live out my suitcase. And I saw my mom getting the hangers. He didn't tell us nothing about getting no hangers from the places. He didn't say nothing about that.
TJ Maxx.
He didn't say nothing about that. You go to Target, you get that was before the boycott. You go to Target, you get but I still, anyways, let's not even go on that topic. I'm so sad about that. But anyways, I say that to say you will go to those places. You go to TJ Maxx, you go, Burlington, you get your stuff. But TJ Maxx was a store, and she was getting hangers. And so I saw her putting them in the closet because we didn't know when we were leaving. And this is why you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes.
Because let me tell you, I felt like I had everything ready, but I was starting to put my stuff in the closet when he did not tell me to do that. He said, you need to live out your suitcase.
And I said, God, that's too hard.
Yeah. And then I followed. You see? I followed a different instruction than his. Problem with authority, right? Okay. So we don't have that issue no more because of God, because of the wilderness. But I said it to say, so my mom told me that Thursday morning, she said, yeah, God says the answers in the message. So I'm seeing her clean up. And I'm like, okay, that means we get out of here. We going to our new home. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm ready. I'm listening to the message. I'm like, that's right, Pastor Dawn. Let him know, Pastor Dawn. That's right, Pastor Dawn. And then I said, oh, it's around 4:00. It's like a little after 4. And she's like, you finished the message? I said, yeah, that was a good message. And then she comes, she said, God said we going back to New York. I said, when you hear that in the message? I didn't hear that. When you heard that at? He ain't never say nothing like that. And so I'm just so confused. I'm flabbergasted. Let's use that word, because I didn't hear that in the message. Where did we get that? And so So now she's telling me this, and we got to buy our ticket. And
the
then
crazy
I said,
part
okay.
was we ain't really had the money to buy the ticket like that.
No, we
But
did.
We did have the money.
We did. But let me tell you how we did. Oh, and God wants you to not bank on the money that is in your account.
Yes.
Oh, he will do some things. Because
Yes.
after he told me that I could quit that old job, I said, oh, yeah, I got a cushion.
Yes.
We good with the savings.
Yes.
Doing my apartment, doing this, all the different things that he tells us how to spend it with. Because I wasn't saying, I was spending it with God. So I was spending it smart. It does not mean just because you have a good cushion to sit on that you go ahead and go spend your money your own way. I was never, my body was never like that. I never did that. But I was moving it on how he wanted to move. So I was cautious, like, oh, we only have a little bit. So after we spent the money for the things that we needed to spend that money on, the mortgages, and the mortgage and my rent, oh boy, we only had a couple $100-something left. I think it was like 1,000 left. No, actually it was like a little over 1,000 left. And that's when he had told us to do it. And then he had told me to do the tickets, and it was literally for a next day flight. Did
That
not
night,
know,
the
that
Thursday
night. That
That's
night
when
we
we
were
found
hanging
out
out with our aunt. It was a
Yes.
good day. It was a
she
nice
spent the
day.
whole day with us. It was such a beautiful day spending that time with her.
Yes,
And
it
we
was-
couldn't even tell her anything because we didn't. All we knew is that we were leaving the 5th. That's all we knew, but we just didn't know where
No,
he was sending us.
we didn't know where. I knew where. I knew he was gonna send me to the place where he want me to go. Because no,
That's not where I wanted to go, but that's where he sent us.
because
so.
we were having faith for Florida in the home that he had said we were gonna go to.
Yes.
And so I'm here like, how you gonna send us back to New York? I said all of this time because we in Florida for 2 months, bro.
Literally 2 months.
And the crazy part about it was like 2 months and a few days. And so the crazy part about it is it was just like, how? And so much was going on. And so with that being said, I'm sorry, y'all. I know we all over the story, but just keep following.
Yes. So you didn't know, you didn't get that in the message.
Yeah, I didn't get that in the message. So it was a good day because I couldn't hear the message until when my aunt had left. And so it was a great day. It was a good day. It was pouring. I'm here like, yeah, God, let the rain fall. Open the floodgates of heaven. Let it rain. Oh, sure he did. Because that hit me different. But anyway, so I didn't hear the message. So then afterwards, he told me how to buy the tickets. Tickets were available. I said we can't do it for today because we don't have enough time to get to the airport before the flight. So we would have to do it for tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. And so we did it for that first thing in the morning on July 5th. Ain't nobody even know. Our family in New York didn't even know. Nobody knew. We didn't even know.
As a matter of fact, he told us to shut up.
Yeah.
He told us not to say anything because we were so shocked that we were coming back to New York and not the home that we were believing for. And he said, do not say anything to anybody. And so, and it's funny because that's exactly what he did with Noah. What he told Noah, but we ain't gonna get into that topic. Noah that built the ark, but we ain't gonna get
But
into that
you
topic.
you did ask for someone to come pick you up. I don't know whether it was the night before or after. That's the only time.
To pick us up in New York?
From the airport.
In New York? No, I didn't ask nobody.
That's how
We
got
ended up take a cab home.
No, we did it.
Oh, yeah. I think I asked that night or the morning. I think it's the morning of that we asked, or is it night? Late night we asked?
I think it was late night.
That we asked.
That we have the morning flight.
Yeah,
it was all
yeah,
last
yeah.
minute. That's the
Yeah,
only thing he
yeah,
said. And that was
yeah.
only because we was coming back
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so after that,
yeah.
I'm in the car now. We driving back home or back to where we're at in New York. We're driving back home, and from the airport we get the pickup. We are here now, and in the car I just couldn't do, like, I didn't want the windows down. I was tired, my hair was looking crazy, and I think I was still just flabbergasted because I went into the bathroom after we just bought the tickets and everything. I went into the bathroom, and he said he couldn't do it because he couldn't move. Yeah, this is in Florida. He couldn't do it because he couldn't perform in a spirit of unbelief.
Yeah.
I said, we believe in my head, but it put me in a understanding, because I had told him, I said, okay, since you want us to go to Florida, or since you want us to go back to New York, you gonna have to work it out with TSA. And so he did work it out with TSA when he told me I'm gonna have to throw out some things. So them cute Primark heels, garbage. The sneakers I bought, garbage. Literally at the airport, just the body butters from Trader Joe's, the pink ones with the garbage. The garbage was getting filled with a lot of new things. Somebody should have been digging there for treasure, because it was all new. I would have, but that garbage was filled. But he worked it out with TSA. I said, "Oh, you really want us to go?" So we are now getting the job. We're coming back, and God think he funny. Oh, because if I knew this was coming next, I would have had them windows open. I don't care how my hair look. I don't care how I can't do with the windows and the wind being too. Oh, because you know what happened? I came and I sat down, and we put our stuff, and I'm just sitting down in the living room. I washed my hand and everything, and I'm sitting down in the living room, and God said, "Don't go to your apartment." I said, I said, this is what I was praying for. I said, I can't wait. I said, if we're going back to New York, I can't wait to be able to go to my apartment. He said, don't go back to your apartment. And then he said, don't go outside. I said, you got me messed up, God.
I think I heard you wrong.
Oh.
I know you ain't talking to me, right, God?
And then I said, don't go outside. I don't know. It was just so confusing to me. And then I think it was a Saturday. And he had told me one Saturday, he said, you could go outside as long as you go by at 7:30. I'm looking at the time. It was after 10. I'm like, you're playing games. What are you talking about? And so I said, you know I can't go outside. It's past 7:30. It was like sometime he told me, because I just wanted to walk. Couldn't do that. And so ever since that time, from July 5th, 2024, we in 2026. I saw Christmas go by. I saw Thanksgiving go by. My friends' birthdays going by. The crazy part about it too, guess what happened? I couldn't even talk to my friends.
Yep,
I couldn't talk to my friends. I couldn't talk to my family. And
the
only family he told me I could talk to is the family that's in this house.
Yep.
That's it.
Because you in that
and
season.
If he had me telling somebody something, it was only what he wanted me to tell them. And after that, I couldn't say nothing else.
Yes.
And so he was preparing me in Florida that I was going to have to cut off communication with my friends. Again, did not have no discipline. Isolation. And so I was like, because I was saying I'm going to talk to them after everything is done. And so that's what he was putting in my spirit, to talk to them after everything is done. So I'm here like, okay. And then I go back to texting my friends because they text me. I don't want them to, feel like I'm ignoring them, because I know how that feels. So I'm just texting back. He's not telling me to do that. So in August of 2024, for real, I think towards the end of August 2024, that's when I really had to stop talking to everybody. That's when I had to fully decide, all right, are you going to do this with God or not?
Yeah.
So it took all the way to August to really stop talking to people. And like I said, if I talked to a person, it was only what he wanted me to tell them. And I couldn't say anything else. So, but in that, he showed me who could weather the storm.
So in that beginning part of from July 5th, since we've been in all these seasons, changing seasons with God, that was the beginning. We've been talking for so long, and that was just the beginning of that season that we started, the isolation season.
Or that's the wilderness and then isolation. I don't know. Yeah, I still struggle with the names.
Let's describe the season, that first season. I know for me, God had told me that I couldn't reach out to my sisters and my brothers, but if they reached out to me, then I could text them back. And when it came on to their birthdays, I said, God, like a couple of days before, I was like, God, I really want to reach out to them and say XYZ and happy birthday and enjoy your day. I love you. And he allowed me to text them and to tell them that. But other than that, I haven't spoken to my brothers nor my sisters since July 4th when I spoke to them. Whenever the last time, I know I spoke to my sister July 4th, one of my sisters, July 4th. But
You had to
prior
send them
that,
a text when you came back, though.
yeah, when I came back, I sent them the text. Right. Yes, because what happened is, yes, thank you for reminding me, because what happened is...
Because even they
when I
were
left-
shocked. They didn't know.
Yeah,
No,
and-
we
and
didn't even know.
my sisters and my brothers thought that I was angry, I was hurt or whatever, but it wasn't that. I was just trying to be obedient to God. And that's one of the things God taught me in the beginning of that season, that even though your actions might make people think something, as long as you know for certain that you heard God's voice. Don't do this and you didn't hear God talking to you and telling you this, because it's just going to end bad. When I say end bad, it's not going to give you the results that you're hoping for, because it's not according to his will. But this one, I was certain without a shadow of a doubt that it was God that was telling us to do this. And so when I came back up, he had told me, because they were calling and reaching and texting, because it's like we just got up and left. And so he had me send a text to them that and it was so funny, because before he gave me this little quote that said, let me get back to taking care of me, or I gotta take care of me, or something like that. And I didn't know what he meant until when I came back up, and he said, remember that time when I told you to write that? And so I had to send him a text telling him that I am going to take care of me, or I'm taking care of me, and let me get back to taking care of me. But all I'm asking for is to pray for me. Something like that, the text said. And I sent it to them. And believe it or not, it hurts because I miss them a lot. But what God has taught me is, if I got to give them up for a period of time just to get closer to him, I'm going to do it. And so I was so desperate for a change in life. I needed new beginnings, not only for me, but for me, my immediate family, my sisters, my brothers, our generation. And I was so desperate for that. And when I thought about it, I said, yeah, God, I'll give up anything or anybody just for you. And that's when I made that decision then, that no matter what, I'm not giving up. And so that was, like I said, the first beginning, in the beginning of that first season, where I felt like I was giving up. And then after my sisters and my brothers, it was my friend. I had like really one good friend, and I had to give up talking to him. And it was so funny because he's such a cool friend, all the way from like when we were younger. And I remember he had texted me and said that he was going through a divorce, and I said, oh my God. And the text that he sent me, my heart was just hurting, and I was praying for him, and I was like, God, please, can I just call him? And then God okayed it, and I called him, but that was the last phone call. And then it was crazy because after that, I felt so bad, because after that, he was texting me, and then I ended up having to block him. Because before I blocked him, God said, you're not concentrating. And I said, God, I got to let him go too. And mind you, I'm not letting go of these people forever. It's a temporary thing, because God wanted my undivided attention. And it was, I'm not lying, it was hard in the beginning. But then when I saw that I was giving up all of this and all these people for God, yeah, I will not go wrong. Nothing will go wrong because I am doing that. And so I was happy that he was bringing me into that season. But let me tell you, I didn't know the season was going to be less than this long, though. And I didn't know that the season was going to have so many different changes of season. Because every time when I felt like, okay, God, we're this close to the end, he just said, like, and especially giving you dreams and visions, actually. He just gave her dreams and visions like, okay, we have to go through this. And then one of the things you kept telling God in all these different seasons was, God, listen, you got to stretch me. If you're going to stretch me, stretch me. I'm like, stop telling God that, because it's exactly what he going to do.
No. It was one of the days, it was June of last year, and it was as if God was telling us we couldn't put the ACs up. And they were hot days.
It was 90-something degrees.
I was stressed.
The thermostat was saying 92.
And sometimes it would get close to 100 in here. Outside is like 80 something. It was a full-on heat wave. And it was literal spiritual warfare during those times, because he wanted us to go through that. it was like you were literally going through the refining fire and feeling the burn.
Yes.
But the burn wasn't touching you. You just felt hot. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm sure when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were in that fiery furnace, they probably was sweating a little bit or something. But you feel the heat. If they wasn't sweating, they was feeling the heat. It wasn't touching them, but it was like that. And I say that to say, I had still had to talk to God, because I used to do my apartment ones, and I said, I'm still going to show up, because I didn't want to not show up in my conversations with God, because I'm tired, because of how I feel. I used to do that. I don't want to do that no more. And so I've grown into that point of loving him. So when I would tell him that thing, that came from the core of my heart. I told him, I said, listen, if you're going to stretch me, you better do all the stretching that you can now. Because I'm never going through this again. Because I never wanted to go through this again. I'd rather you stretch the crap out of me right now like I'm an elastic band, so I never in my life have to do this again. This is hard. I don't know who want to do this 3-4 times. I don't know how the Israelites did that. I could not do this. No. And then it was later on he reminded me, yeah, there are some people who don't have to go through this again. Joseph didn't have to go through it again. Job didn't have to go through it again. Esther and Mordecai didn't have to go through it again. And the Jewish people they helped. And so I said, okay, so it's possible. So at that point, though, I wasn't thinking about the fact that no one couldn't do it again. Like, about people not doing it. I just did not want to do it again. And I was telling him, I was being honest. I said, you seeing all of this and you can do something about it, but I have to wait on your timing for it to be done. But you're telling me it's time. You know what I'm saying? And that's when one of the days in June, I never forget, it was a service. Because we used to have these things called Hot Wednesdays. And I forgot who came. I think it was Pastor Hannah who had came. And in that one, before the message, it was a lot going on. And before the I said, God, I said, you got something good to say. Because that's when he had told me, he said, his timing versus our timing.
Wait, that was January 2025,
that was
right?
June
2020. Oh, when he came.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the middle of June. And then that's when a lot of things I just had to stop, and I had to learn how to rely on God. Because remember, I didn't have no respect for authority. Meaning that if you was a man and you was telling me how to do things, I was not listening to you. You could have been a man my age, a man older than me. I was not listening to you. So I struggled with having authority, like respecting authority, because I think I just couldn't trust that source of authority. And I made it seem like everybody, including God's authority, came from that one source. And it's not the case. And so he had to teach me that. I also didn't have discipline. He had to teach me that. And that's what this wilderness was. I also did not rely on him as much as I needed to rely on him. He had to teach me that. I was people pleasing a lot. I cared more about what people thought of me, thought of what I wanted. I just didn't want them to feel certain ways. So I expensed myself at that. He had to get that out of me. So there was many different things. I made my friends idols. Didn't even know that. He had to get that out of me because I loved them more than I loved him. So when he was telling me to let them go, because I wasn't doing it, he made the situations happen where I had to let them go. I had no choice, because if I didn't let them go, he did it himself. And I didn't realize how much, until I was going through this process, how much he actually needed to work on me. And so he needed to take the world out of me, because there was so much of it in me.
Let me talk about a little bit about the season way before that July 5th, way before that Florida in May of 2023, where I was going through something, and I'm telling you.
Remember, Florida was 2024.
Yes.
And this time
Florida
she's talking
July,
about
2024.
No, Florida was really May 2024.
Yeah. But when we came back
was July.
Yeah, 2024.
And then this time she's talking about is May of 2023.
So let's go back a little bit to May of 2023.
Sorry for the jumping.
We're talking about seasons, and so let me go back a little bit to May of 2023. So in May of 2023, prior to that, I was just going through some rough times, and because of all that stress, my high blood pressure was fluctuating. My doctor changed my medication. It was just a mess for me. And it was affecting me health-wise. And I was crying out to God constantly for so long. I was crying out to him, crying out to him, crying out to him. And I felt like as if he wasn't hearing me, or I don't know. It was just so much emotions going on. Not realizing that was also a season of learning how to trust him. But it was crazy because I remember I left on May 1, 2023. I'll never forget. And I left and I was on a train and I was crying and I said, God, you got to do something. You got to do something. You got to do something. And let me tell you, it was actually the job. And I was praying and I said, God, you got to do something. And I'll never forget, God said to me, go on a fast. Now, before this, I was at the job. I was a secretary and I was at the job. And it was in April, like the ending of April. And my doctor was going to put me out on FMLA because it was affecting me that much. And let me tell you, I was on a train and God said, go on a fast. And
it was affecting your pressure and your mental.
Everything.
Yeah, everything was us.
Everything.
All
and
over.
I was not myself anymore. And God said, go on a fast. And I said, God, if you want me to go on a fast, you got to give me specifics. And he told me, start the fast on May 2nd, 2023. He told me, my daughter actually had told me about the Bible app. And he told me which one. I think it was the Miraculous Breakthrough. And it was a 7-day plan. And let me tell you, I went to war with God with that one because let me tell you, I was on the floor. I was so desperate. I was hurting so much that I needed God to do a miracle. I needed God to show up. And so he had both of us on that fast. And even that for me was a season because the Bible app, that was the first time I was using the Bible app, I believe. And that was it was such a trying time because that was a time I kept saying to God, I said, God, I don't think you could do what I'm asking you to do. I told him that. I said, I don't think you could do what I'm asking you to do because it's big.
But before you started to go on the Bible app, and correct me if I'm wrong, but before you started going on the Bible app, that Bible app came when he had put it in your spirit to call me. And then he was talking through you while I was on my way to the old job. And he had said, you need to switch it up.
Yeah, switch it up.
Because beforehand, you were doing something different.
Yes.
So you got to speak on that.
Yes.
Because that's when you started to go to war.
Yes. I don't remember what I was doing different. I think he had a psalm. He had me reading a psalm.
He had you reading a psalm.
Yeah, he had me reading one of the psalms.
And then you was just praying, listening to worship music. But that was kind of it.
That's what it was. Thank you for saying that. At that time, at that time, I was going through a season of my life. I was so desperate for a change from God that I was going through a season in my life where I was listening to all these praise and worship songs. And then God let me understand it's okay to know all these praise and worship songs, but do you really know any of my word? And the praise and worship songs made me feel good, but then after that, I felt empty. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with praise and worship songs. They are beautiful.
It was just at that moment.
But at that moment, I needed to get into his word. And honestly, I wasn't reading his word. I was one of them people where the only time I was really reading God's word is the verse of the day that I would get. Or the daily bread verse of the day. That's what it was. The daily bread verse of the day I was reading. And when I go to church, that's the only time really that I was pulling out his word. And I said, God, if you really want me to trust you, because I don't think you could do this. But I said, if you really want me to trust you, you're going to have to direct my path. And that's when God directed me to the app. The Bible app.
No. You're missing out some parts.
Tell me again.
What happened is that afterwards he had told you to do a walk.
Oh yeah.
Because you were feeling weak.
Yes. I had to make a decision.
You were towards the end of May.
Yeah. No, this was the end of June. Sometime in June.
No, it wasn't.
It was the end of May?
It was the end of May.
Okay.
So from May 2nd, from when you started
May
the fast, because
2nd.
I was doing the fast with you, because you told me, you said, I was like, oh, no, it's like the first thing that came up to me was, oh, I'll join you.
Yeah,
that's the first thing.
Because
she was just doing it until, we eat until 12, don't go on no social media, just do praise and worship until 12. And then it was like the first thing, because I said, oh, I want to get closer to God. I remember I put it in the text, I want to get closer to God, and this will help us.
Yes.
And so I wanted to get closer to God, and so that's why I ended up doing the fast with her. And so he had me doing something different than her. So I was on the Bible app. He had me do the Bible app, and I was doing plans with him on that. And then I was doing Psalms with him. And then was doing the praise and worship on my way to the old job. And so with this being said, it was one time where from May 2nd all the way towards the end of May, when she had to decide, because it was getting closer to the time when she had to, quote unquote, go back.